Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on doing a biblical survey of the doctrine of God, of Christ, of salvation, of the resurrection, of piety, and of prayer. Just a few things. This is not merely academic interest to me. It is interesting academically to me, very interesting. And I love to teach it, and I love to engage this material, and I love to introduce it to people just on a more academic, intellectual level. But for me, there's also something deeply personal about this. And I have some experience personally with God in regard to contemplation, contemplative prayer, and mysticism as well. So just know that about me as well. So I have a long-standing interest in church history as well, and so you'll see that kind of come out as well as we survey material. I really want all of you to come out the other side of this course really having a deeper appreciation and a better, at least intellectual understanding of this whole history of how the Christian church got to where it is and how the prayer practices, especially that came out of the monastic movement, how they developed, what they are, and what it actually looks like to practice them. So what is Paul doing simultaneously? He's clearly saying to them, your conception of the deity is mistaken. Right? The God is the one who created everything, who's the source of everything. Yet the God, that same God, who is ontologically distinct, is yet in the creation, is present in the creation, is present to you who don't even know him in a way that you can't even perceive. It always has been. And has been working and working among all of you in the hopes that some of you might fumble about and you might search and you might actually find the true God, right? So I would leave that as evidence of this dichotomy, right? Between the sense in which we could properly say God is in the created things, but he's not the same as the created things, right? Recollection, very key term. This is going to come up later. We're going to talk a lot about this later. Recollection is just literally, it just means collecting. That's how you avoid distraction. This is the practice of internally. It's internally. This is how you get away from the distractions. This is how you put them away. You make it a habit to continually recollect your thoughts back to where they need to be. Are you there to meditate upon God? Are you there to pray, be quiet? Then you're constantly recollecting. You're pulling your mind focus back, singularly focused. These are internal habits. These are habits of the mind. They're habits of the heart. They must be learned over time. And to do that, you do need to be isolated, he says. But isolation itself is not enough. There must be an internal learning process that must happen. So he goes back to Genesis and says, this is our kind of one of the key spiritual insights that we need to hold on to. If we're going to approach the living God, we must approach the living God as creatures. We were made out of nothing. We're not gods. We don't have eternal existence, right? We're created. And we owe everything to God because he made us out of nothing. And so, we are not partially divine, which is the common idea in the Greek world, Greek philosophy in particular, right? We have some piece of divinity in us. It's kind of essential to our core of us as being humans. And so they're saying, no, we do not. They're saying we are creatures. Theosis is not an affirmation that I'm God. Right. All human beings, like the idea within Hinduism or Buddhism, right? There's some sort of spark of divinity that's been implanted in everybody by virtue of our coming into existence or something. No. They're saying absolutely not. It is not true. That's not biblical. It's not scriptural. However, but this is why it makes theosis even more remarkable as a teaching. Because in order to get to theosis, there's a bridge that has to be built. God, the eternal, has to build a bridge to a created being, to created beings who had a starting point out of nothing. This is why Christ is so critical. This is why Christ has to be everything to us. This is why theosis is entirely dependent upon our being in Christ. For Gregory, for Basil, for Athanasius. There is a divide here. There is a differentiation that is hard and it is fast. This is why you have to have Christ. Without Christ, you have no spirituality. You have no capacity for it. You can't get to theosis. You can't get to sanctification. You can't even get to the initial stage of faith. This is what's in their framework of reference in their theology. So Christ becomes all important for everything in their explanation of what Christian spirituality looks like and how it's practiced.